Hi, folks. This is Michael, and welcome to another edition of Covenant Nation. You know, and you guys are all aware of this, is that out in the world there, you have this thing called politically correct speech. And in religion, you've got its counterpart, which is religiously correct speech. And both groups will condemn you and run you out of town on a rail if you do not bend your knee to their conventions. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? For example, you can turn on mainstream news media, which I don't recommend it, but and you're going to hear all the politically correct speech that you want, which is now transcended or descended into correct uh, gendering somebody, right? It's like, you in some places, if you incorrectly gender someone, man, they want to throw you in prison, right? You see these tranny freaks out there, and man, who gave them such political power? I wonder. Could it have been Baphomet, the god that they worship, the god of the transgender, Baphomet? Dang, man. But anyway, so as you know, there is you got your politically correct speech, and you don't have to be too long in Christianity to discover religiously correct speech also. And as a matter of fact, I think if you thought about it very much, you would find that the first place that the First Amendment really began to suffer an attack was in the Christian church. Because they are the first ones to shut down religiously incorrect speech. They will rob you and they will take away your First Amendment right of free speech in their churches. In other words, you don't have a right to get up in any church and just speak. Some will allow you to do that. Most will probably call the ushers and have you thrown out in the street because they do not allow free speech in the church. They do not allow you to express yourself in the church, right? So, again, I'm just saying that, and I think that's probably very apparent to anybody who's ever thought of it, but it's the churches where the First Amendment was first attacked. You got to keep things in perspective. And it's like I say, it was back in the 60s that the church and the federal government, the 501c3 churches, but, they're just an extension of the federal government. And a 501c3 church, you really do not have a First Amendment. You don't. You surrender your First Amendment when you make that contract with the federal government for a 501c3. You no longer have the right to say anything you please. You no longer have free speech. You have to conform to what the government says is acceptable speech, right? And the government told the churches a long time ago, you better not be talking politics in those buildings, or we're going to start demanding that you pay back taxes, right? So the churches are under a monetary threat that if they allow free speech, that they're going to end up paying back taxes for, 20, 30, 40 years of tithes and offerings that they never had to declare, right? Millions and millions. I mean, throughout Christianity, it is probably tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that churches around America collect over any given decade or, 30, 40, 50 years, a lot of money, right? And they've never had to pay one penny of tax. You had to pay tax on everything you gave them, but they never had to do it. And they get that exemption by being a 501c3, tax exempt, right? So if they violate that, it's going to cost them a lot of money, and they won't. So they bend their knee to the federal government, and they bend their knee in fear, right, to those who demand they speak a certain way. And it's really unfortunate because that has been embedded into many, many Christians, right? And again, it goes to when the church threw out the commandments, people, they threw out anything remotely resembling righteousness, and they no longer even know what it is. And I tell you what, there's many in our movement who have come out of Paul who still do not know that it is the doing of the commandments that is your righteousness. They still don't know this. They're still making up laws. They're still making up rules. They're still wanting to inflict their religious speech upon everybody else. And they want to condemn and damn anybody who does not bend the knee to their own religious conventions. And here is a really good prime example. Um, and you guys know me, I will use the word bullshit generously. And I'll use it a lot to describe and to compare bullshit to the doctrines of Paul. Right. And people get so offended at that. Right? How dare, oh, that is not holy. That is vile. That's profane. Oh, you are full of iniquity. You're an evil, unrighteous one. Your heart is so evil before God because you compared the doctrines of Paul to bovine excrement. And I'm not kidding you guys. You get comments like that. And it's like, and this is from people that have come out of Paul. But that's why I was saying, man, it's a dang sight easier to come out of Paul than it is to get Paul out of you. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that Paul would do. You don't condemn people for, misusing a word. I don't know if I could go that far, but so I did a word search here just a little while ago, and I thought, well, let's see. Dung is the Old Testament word for shit, right? Just is. Sorry, deal with it, right? So if you go through here, let me just start this at the beginning, right? And I'm not going to read these, but you can just see every one that's in red, right? And there's all the places that this is an Old English word. It's an Old English word. Dung is Old English. Shit is New English, or crap, or poop, right? Any one of them, right? That, if you want to call it New English, right? Anyway, just take a look at this. Beginning in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Judges, Kings, Second Kings, Nehemiah, Job, Psalms, Isaiah, Jeremiah, many times in Jeremiah, right? Ezekiel, Zephaniah, Malachi. Look at what God says in Malachi, right? Behold, I will rebuke your offspring and spread shit on your face, the shit of your offerings, and you shall be taken away with it. All right, we'll put it back into Old English. Behold, I will rebuke your offspring and spread dung on your faces, the dung of your offerings, and you shall be taken away with it. What is the freaking difference, people? What is the difference? And the fact that somebody, and you can see that God Himself, the prophets themselves use this word, right? And yet people that are Christians, man, they get so triggered. They get so triggered over a little word like that they just lose all sensibility. They lose all sense of proportion, all sense of perspective, right? And it's like, dang, man, jeez. Whoever would have thought that the word bullshit would become a rock of offense and a stone of stumbling, right? And I'm not comparing that to, come on, be real here, but they treat it like that. Oh my God, you use that word, man. You stumble us, you offend us. Oh man, you just, oh no, oh God, we're going to have to cancel you. We're going to have to make sure nobody ever hears a word you ever have to say again because by golly, you compared Paul to bullshit, right? Man, we need to destroy this guy. And it's like, dang, man, I hope you guys are trying to bend an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying here. Man, y'all need a reality check. You really do. Y'all need a real, honest to goodness, come to Jesus meeting. And I'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye bye. Hi, folks. I just thought I'd give you a little parting word here. And, it's too bad with this whole phenomenon in society, called going woke. And you see that starting to invade, various areas, just kind of maybe not so much, societal wokeness, but the principles of canceling you, the principles of taking away your First Amendment right, uh, wanting to cancel, wanting to shut people down, all this kind of stuff. And I'll tell you what, in our community, I'll call us the anti-Paul community for lack of a better term, but we are precious few as it is, and it is I do not understand people that enter this movement and immediately come into to divide the brethren against one another, to split the house in two, so to speak. And I think it would be wise for all of us to, keep your eyes and ears open for those that do, what you might call so dissension among the brothers, that those that do come in to split and divide and in a very real way exalt themselves. And just be aware of this kind of stuff. You won't always see it up front at first, right? But the longer you follow along with what anybody is, like on a Facebook or websites or forums or whatnot, you're gonna find those that are well, they're kind of like control freaks, right? You guys ever run into a control freak? Man, they aren't happy until you bend your knee to everything they say and everything they demand of you. They'll never be happy until you are literally worshiping the ground they walk on and exalting them as the greatest thing to ever appear on the planet. You know, I think it's called narcissism. But anyway, the source is the same. Just be aware, folks. Just be aware of those who are speaking out of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And those that speak from the tree of life. There is a difference. There is a difference. One is from above and one is from beneath, obviously. So, again, just be aware of those that seek to divide us and to turn us against ourselves and to create wars and battles amongst us where none need exist. And there are plenty of people out there that are willing to mess things up, I guess, just for their own sake of self gratification. Anyway, I'll get back to you in a few days. I just want, I realize no one's probably going to get this far. They hardly ever do. I look at my YouTube analytics, right? But I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to doing, and this is another series kind of taking, a really neat direction here in that I think there needs to be a great discussion on the testimony of Yahshua, considering, that the remnant are those that keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yahshua the Messiah. And when you think, we got all these people who have come out of great tribulation, and what did they do? They made their robes white in the blood of the Lamb, didn't they? How did that happen? It happened through keeping the commandments of God and the testimony of Yahshua. And that's how people come out of great tribulation. And the reason why they're in great tribulation is because they blew off obeying his voice, and they blew off keeping his commandments. That will always thrust you into great tribulation, and that's how you get out. You repent. You return you return to God, you return to his commandments, you start testifying of Yahshua, and I guarantee you, man, your life will turn around in a heartbeat. It really will. Anyway, so this is the next series that I'm working on here, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.